These are the top 10 commanders for beginners in mono black. Number 3 on this list is Imotekh the Stormlord with a Necrons artifact graveyard archetype. This commander wants to recur artifacts from the graveyard to make tokens. You then pump those tokens to give evasion with menace and make them stronger. So why is he good for beginners with that really weird convoluted archetype? Well, Imotekh is the backup commander for the Necrons 40k precon deck, meaning it's really easy for someone to go out and buy the full precon and play it as is. Imotekh is good in a graveyard deck where you're recurring artifacts out of the graveyard. He's good in a Necron specific deck where you're playing basically the 40k precon, and he's good in an artifact deck where you're just playing artifact creatures that aren't specifically Necrons from the precon and trying to recur those out of the graveyard. So while there's a little bit of flexibility there, the reality is the best thing you could do is just buy the precon and probably just upgrade it. A few cards you might like across those archetypes would be Illuminor Ceres, Scrap Trawler, and Noxious Gearhulk. Illuminor Ceres could swap into the command zone if you really wanted to, but gives you a ton of mana. Scrap Trawler gives you really easy graveyard recursion, and Noxious Gearhulk gives you removal while also giving you a little bit of life gain in a pinch. So when should you play this commander? If you're a 40k player. That's how I got into the game, although I tend to gravitate more towards my Marneus Calgar deck than I do my Imotekh deck. You could also play this if you want to play a more graveyard focused deck. That's an archetype that I really like and is a big reason that I play this deck. And finally, a good reason to play this would be if you want a deck you can buy and just play from the shelf. But that is also a reason this deck is not number 1 and is instead number 3. This precon is now between $150 and $200 depending on where you go. And that's just a bit expensive. If you can find it for cheap, great. Honestly, I'd buy this deck if it was $100, but that $150 to $200 range is a little bit expensive. Because of that, it's a bit hard to recommend the precon by itself. That being said, I do think Imotekh is very cool, and I really enjoy the Necrons deck, despite not being a Necrons player in 40k.